very interesting research. And here are the conclusions from there. So the percentage increases are comparable between insects and rodents. Therefore, I would expect that to extrapolate to humans. I think we're about 7 times more closely related to rodents than we are to fruit flies. We diverged from our common ancestor with a rodent was about 100 million years ago. Common ancestor with fruit flies is about 600, 700 million years ago. Now, to me, that means that they should extrapolate to humans quite easily. The coenzymes increase average lifespan, and then the minerals increase maximum lifespan as well. So the coenzymes help to square the curve, the survival curve, and minerals help to extend the curve to the right. And the other factor is that combinations are approximately additive. We don't have very many experiments. There's only really that one, actually. But they were additive. If you look at how they combine, it's almost miraculous. They just add up. Not completely, but almost add up. And the other thing is, as I say, most things have not been tested like this. These are the only experiments that I can find throughout the whole of literature that report data that we can sensibly use. So all the blank cells means we have no data at all.
Why haven't people done more of these experiments?
Well, I'll come to that a bit later, but it's a bit, yeah, I'll come on to that one on a very good question, but I'll try to answer that a bit later. And I'll just say here, I put cohort because, no, I will come on to that a bit later. For the next one, they're additive. And the reason I think coenzymes are additive is that the basic biochemical action of every coenzyme is different from another one. So there's no overlap. You can't substitute one coenzyme for another. In the same way, if you have a deficiency in one vitamin, you can't get around that by taking a different vitamin. You have to take the specific vitamin that you need. And this is how it's affected at the metabolic level. And minerals also, they are effectively coenzymes from our point of view. They're actually called metabolic cofactors. But they perform the same role here. You have to source them from the diet. And you can't substitute one mineral for another. There are things called zinc fingers, which require a zinc atom. So these are protein complexes that take their structure from the fact that there's a zinc atom in a certain place. You can't substitute cobalt, say, or iron for that. And the other question that might arise from the first table is, why would someone ever dream of giving someone RNA to eat? RNA is a messenger. It transmits information from the DNA in a cell's nucleus to ribosomes, which then produce proteins. You think, well, why would you want to eat RNA?
There isn't a lot of RNA in the diet.
So?
There's going to be lots of RNA.
There will be some, yes, there is some in the diet.
Well, the enormous amount of thought.
Interactive cells, I suppose, but yeah, there is some RNA in our diet. But then that's true of all these things. I mean, all these things exist in our diet, but they're just giving them more RNA or more B12 or more B5. So here's the rationale, is that when you eat RNA, it gets broken down into nucleotides, and they actually have a direct role independent of RNA. And they're very similar to coenzymes, because we think, in fact, RNA was evolved before enzymes did. So many of our fundamental processes, we have enzymes not made of amino acids, but made of nucleotides. And here are some examples. ATP is actually a coenzyme, and we need that for energy. But it's actually a nucleotide-based coenzyme. The A in there is adenosine. And we've also got things, UDP, CTP, so that's like uridine diphosphate, and that's something triphosphate. I forget exactly which one it is. But they all have their own roles. And NAD, which I haven't mentioned before, but that's derived from niacin or B3, and coenzyme A. They're also nucleotide enzymes. Although the last two we source from our diet directly, not from the breakdown of RNA. Now minerals. So just like vitamins, we can't synthesize minerals, obviously we don't have the ability to transmutate. So we get them from our diet. Now minerals, it seems, extend maximum lifespan. It doesn't mean lifespan. I think the reason why they have this extra effect is because they have a wider range of actions. Minerals can be directly components of proteins, like the zinc finger, or they can actually be part of the amino acid. Many books, old books, still say we have 20 amino acids. But in fact, we've got at least 21, because there's a selenomethionine, which is where a sulfur atom is replaced by a selenium atom. And there's actually, there actually is a DNA codon that codes for this particular amino acid. So they are important. So there are different ways that a mineral can influence our metabolism, which is not accessible to just coenzymes. And I think this is why they have a more powerful effect. So we need the coenzymes and we need the minerals to be supplemented with. So here's a zinc finger I mentioned earlier. The green object is the zinc atom. These are parts of the protein molecule being held together. And this is where we try accepting that the micronutrients do extend lifespans. This is the only experiment I've seen where someone tried to measure what happens if you start at different times in an animal's life. And here they tried it at different times, as is in mice, and I put the equivalent, this is, I think these calculations are my own. I put the equivalent human age here. But the important thing is the remaining lifespan is extended by the same percentage. And this is exactly what you would expect if it was slow in aging. So the younger you start, obviously, the longer you live with the extended lifespan. And here are some that are completely untested in terms of lifespan. Although they all have quite considerable health benefits. Carnitine, which I think, yes, we are, yeah. Top one, that helps to transfer acyl groups in and out of into the mitochondria where it's essentially burnt. Vitamin D, we've already met slightly. Hasn't been tested for lifespan effects on animals as far as I know. Vitamin K, the one I said helps calcium metabolism. Garlic, interestingly. Garlic's one of the most effective substances or nutrients that you can find that will lessen the severity of a cold. I think zinc is another one. But I don't know of anything else that reliably works. So garlic is doing something, so you ought to consider at least supplementing it. Magnesium is another one. That's got numerous health benefits. Again, it hasn't been tested for lifespan effects or life extension in any form as far as I know. Vanadium and strontium. Vanadium has an impact on the insulin pathways. Sometimes diabetics supplement with vanadium. Strontium affects bone growth. Lycopene, that's a carotenoid, it will make tomatoes red. Now there was a study where they looked at Alzheimer's in nuns. They chose nuns simply because they would have records that go back many, many years. They look at when they entered the convent, and you could track what they ate over their time there. And they found that that lycopene in the diet protected against Alzheimer's. It was the only substance that they found did this in the diet. So that's another substance well worth supplementing with, I think. Fish oil, I presume most people have heard of the benefits of omega-3 fish oil. So now, why is this such a neglected field? We have all these different strands of evidence that seem to indicate very large health benefits, possibly anti-aging actions of these things, and yet it's mostly completely ignored. And I think there's a